The Syrian civil war, now in its 13th year, is witnessing a dramatic resurgence of rebel activity. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, once affiliated with al-Qaeda, has emerged as a powerful force. The group has launched a significant offensive against the Syrian government led by President Bashar al-Assad. HTS's advance highlights the Assad regime's weakening grip on power. HTS has made substantial territorial gains, particularly in northwestern Syria. This region, long contested, has become a focal point in the ongoing conflict. HTS's recent victories have emboldened other rebel factions. These groups, some aligned with HTS and others operating independently, have intensified their attacks on government forces. The Syrian army, once seemingly invincible, is now on the defensive. Assad, who once appeared poised to regain control over the entire country, is facing renewed pressure. The international community, deeply divided over the Syrian conflict, has been largely sidelined in recent developments. The resurgence of the rebellion injects further uncertainty into the Syrian conflict, making a peaceful resolution even more elusive. In a stunning display of military prowess, HTS captured the strategically vital city of Hama. This marked the first time since the conflict's outbreak in 2011 that the city fell under rebel control. The capture of Hama represents a major symbolic victory for the opposition. It demonstrates the rebels' growing capabilities and underscores the shifting dynamics of the war. Hama holds significant historical and geographical importance in Syria. Located in the heart of the country, it serves as a crucial link between Damascus and Aleppo. The city's fall is a blow to the Syrian government's prestige and weakens its control over key transportation routes. HTS's ability to capture and hold such a strategic location raises serious questions about the Syrian army's ability to defend its remaining territory. The loss of Hama also has significant implications for the civilian population. Thousands of residents have been displaced by the fighting, adding to the already dire humanitarian crisis gripping the country. Russia, a steadfast ally of the Syrian government, has played a pivotal role in propping up the Assad regime. However, Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine has significantly strained its resources and attention. This has led to a noticeable reduction in Russia's military footprint in Syria. The decline in Russian support has emboldened the rebels and weakened Assad's position. Evidence of Russia's reduced involvement in Syria is mounting. There has been a marked decrease in the number of Russian airstrikes targeting rebel positions. Furthermore, Moscow has withdrawn some troops and naval assets from its bases in Syria. The waning of Russian influence in Syria has created a vacuum that other actors are eager to fill. Turkey, a NATO member with its own interest in the region, has stepped up its military operations in northern Syria. Iran, another key ally of Assad, has also increased its presence. The decline in Russian support has emboldened the Syrian opposition and their regional backers. The balance of power is shifting, with potentially significant consequences for the future of Syria. Iran, a crucial ally of the Syrian government, has provided vital military and financial support to the Assad regime throughout the conflict. However, Iran is currently grappling with a multitude of challenges that have limited its ability to project power abroad. Internal unrest, a faltering economy, and escalating tensions with the United States and its allies in the region have forced Tehran to divert resources and attention away from Syria. Recent protests and civil unrest within Iran, triggered by economic hardship and political repression, have posed a significant challenge to the Iranian government. The economic situation in Iran remains dire, exacerbated by international sanctions and government mismanagement. These internal challenges have limited Iran's ability to provide the same level of support to its allies in Syria. In addition to its internal woes, Iran is facing mounting pressure from the United States and its allies in the region. These external pressures have further constrained Iran's ability to play a decisive role in the Syrian conflict. Hezbollah, the Lebanese Shia militant group and a close ally of the Syrian government, has played a significant role in bolstering the Assad regime's ground forces. The group's intervention at the behest of Iran has been instrumental in turning the tide of the war in favor of Assad. However, years of fighting in Syria have taken a heavy toll on Hezbollah, both militarily and financially. The group's weakened state has diminished its ability to effectively support the Syrian government. Hezbollah has suffered substantial casualties in Syria, with thousands of its fighters killed and wounded. The group's involvement in the conflict has also drained its financial resources. Hezbollah, heavily reliant on Iranian funding, has seen its coffers dwindle as Iran grapples with its own economic woes. The financial strain has limited Hezbollah's ability to recruit and equip new fighters, impacting its operational capabilities. The internal divisions and the heavy losses sustained in Syria have weakened Hezbollah's standing both domestically and regionally. Turkey, a NATO member with a long and porous border with Syria, views the conflict through the lens of its own strategic interests. Under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Turkey has pursued an assertive foreign policy aimed at countering Kurdish influence in northern Syria and establishing a buffer zone under its control. Turkey's intervention in Syria has further complicated the already intricate dynamics of the conflict. Ankara views the Syrian Kurdish People's Protection Units, or YPG, which has been a key ally of the United States in the fight against ISIS, as an extension of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK. The PKK, designated as a terrorist organization by Turkey, the United States, and the European Union, has waged a decades-long insurgency against the Turkish state. Turkey fears that the YPG's territorial gains in Syria will embolden the PKK and fuel separatism within Turkey. To counter the YPG, Turkey has launched multiple military incursions into northern Syria, establishing a de facto buffer zone along its border. Turkey's actions have significantly escalated the conflict and diminished the prospects for a negotiated settlement. The Syrian battlefield remains a patchwork of control, with various factions vying for supremacy. The Syrian government, backed by Russia, Iran, and a network of pro-government militias, maintains control over Damascus and other major cities in western Syria. However, its grip on power has weakened considerably, with rebel groups making significant advances in recent months. The Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, a predominantly Kurdish militia backed by the United States, controls a swathe of territory in northeastern Syria. The SDF played a pivotal role in the defeat of ISIS, but has faced accusations of human rights abuses and ethnic cleansing. HTS, the dominant rebel group in northwestern Syria, has emerged as a major force in the conflict. HTS's resurgence has complicated the situation on the ground, as the group is viewed with suspicion by both the Syrian government and its allies, as well as by some Western powers. The Syrian government's reliance on outdated military equipment has been exposed in recent incidents, highlighting the challenges faced by the Assad regime despite its battlefield successes. On November 8, 2024, an aging Russian-made cargo plane carrying two senior Syrian officers experienced a loss of altitude and communication over the Mediterranean Sea. While the plane eventually landed safely, the incident raised concerns about the airworthiness of the Syrian Air Force's aging fleet. There have been numerous reports of Syrian military aircraft malfunctioning or crashing due to technical issues. The Syrian Air Force, once a formidable force in the region, has been decimated by years of war and an international arms embargo. The Syrian government's reliance on outdated and poorly maintained aircraft poses a risk to its own forces and civilians on the ground. The Syrian army relies heavily on Soviet-era tanks, armored vehicles and artillery pieces, many of which are in poor condition due to a lack of spare parts and qualified technicians. While Russia has provided some modern military equipment to the Syrian government, it has been reluctant to supply its ally with more advanced weapon systems that could fall into the wrong hands. The Syrian civil war, now in its 13th year, remains a complex and intractable conflict with no end in sight. The recent resurgence of rebel activity, particularly by HTS, has thrown the Assad regime's grip on power into question. The waning influence of Russia, distracted by its war in Ukraine, has further emboldened the opposition. The Syrian battlefield remains fragmented, with various factions vying for control. The Syrian people continue to bear the brunt of the conflict. Millions have been displaced from their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring countries or within Syria itself. The humanitarian crisis in Syria is one of the worst in modern times, with millions in need of food, water, shelter, and medical care. The international community, deeply divided over the conflict, has failed to find a political solution. The Assad regime, though weakened, still controls significant territory and enjoys the support of powerful allies. The Syrian civil war is likely to continue to rage for the foreseeable future, with devastating consequences for the Syrian people and the wider region.